Good morning and welcome to the Alzheimer's Association's Residential Real Estate Networking event. My name is Melissa Shirtcliffe and I'm the Senior Manager for the Greater Boston Walk to End Alzheimer's with the Alzheimer's Association. And we're also happy to have you joining us this morning for what will be a great program and networking event. Before we get started, we just have a couple of housekeeping items. We ask that you please mute your lines to avoid any background noise. And if you have any questions during today's event, please feel free to enter those in the chat and we can answer those questions as we go along. We'll also have an opportunity for questions and answers. We'll pause during the program for an opportunity for questions and answers. This morning, we'll provide you with an introduction to Alzheimer's and the Alzheimer's Association. We'll then have a presentation from Dovetail Real Estate Group, who will talk about supporting sellers with dementia. We'll also hear from a representative from Jack Conway and Company, who is a volunteer of the Alzheimer's Association, and we'll talk about their involvement with the association and the Walk to End Alzheimer's. And we'll end the event with an opportunity to network with other professionals in your area. So now kicking off our program, I'd like to introduce CEO of the Alzheimer's Association, Mass, New Hampshire chapter and the New England regional leader, Jim Wessler.
Well, thanks so much, Melissa. It's nice to see a picture of myself without a mask. That's good. So welcome, everybody. It's what a wonderful group this morning. And thank you for joining us. I know we have folks from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, perhaps other parts of New England. The other part of my job, just so you know, is I'm a regional leader. I work with all of our New England chapters. So we're really thrilled to have you. Very briefly, I often talk about the Alzheimer's Association's work in three buckets and use the care, cause, and cure, which you'll see here done a little differently, care and support research and advocacy. So on the care side, in a minute, you're going to hear from Nicole McGurran, our Director of Family Services, but just overall know that the Alzheimer's Association is very involved in, we are a nationwide organization, but just even here in New England, providing daily support to the well over 200, probably over 250,000 families in our 6 New England states that are grappling with Alzheimer's and dementia each and every day. And Nicole's going to outline for you all of our programs and services that are available. And by the way, I will say at no charge to families. On the cause side, there are really kind of two parts to that. One of which is what I would talk about public awareness, and certainly the Walk to End Alzheimer's it's actually the largest event of its kind in the world, and in addition to raising very important funds, it is a major effort around raising visibility for the cause. There is still a stigma attached to this disease. There are so many families that do need help and assistance and don't even know that they can turn to us or a wide array of community services. In fact, we often say if we had a couple dollars for every person that said, gee whiz, I wish I had known about the Alzheimer's Association when I was struggling with my mom or my dad or my spouse, our finances would be in a different situation. So it's really important that we educate the general public about Alzheimer's disease and about what is available for them. The other part of cause, as on the slide here, is our advocacy. We are a completely nonpartisan organization, but we are, as it says here, the leading advocacy organization. We're very active in actually every state in the nation around issues around resources available to families, improving diagnosis and treatment. Most recently, we've been very active around issues around quality of care in nursing homes, which, as you know, have really been dramatically impacted by COVID-19. And then on the federal level, we are also very active expanding Medicare to cover care planning and diagnosis, and certainly a large role in increasing the federal allotment through the National Institutes of Health for Alzheimer's and dementia research, which we have really been the leading advocacy organization that has been pushing that. And then the last part of my C is the cure side, I should say, or research. If you don't know, the Alzheimer's Association is the largest private nonprofit funder of Alzheimer's and dementia research in the world. And I do say in the world, this is the one part of our mission that is global in nature. We fund the best science, the best research anywhere in the globe in any given year. In fact, after the National Institutes of Health in the US and the nation of China, the Alzheimer's Association has been designated as the most impactful organization globally in advancing the science. So we fund from basic research to diagnosis and biomarkers, in fact, to clinical trials, which are currently underway. If you saw the media today, certainly in the Boston Globe, there was a story about Eli Lilly with successful results from a phase 2 clinical trial. So we are involved in all aspects of the science and the research world. We publish the most impactful journals in the Alzheimer's and dementia space as another example. So our mission and our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. We are active in helping the public today in America that is grappling with this disease, and we are equally active in driving the science for cures and effective treatments in the future. So that's a super brief, that's my care, cause, cure in 3 minutes. And I could talk for a lot more, but I won't. And it's my pleasure to introduce Nicole McGurn. Nicole is our Director of Family Services, and she's going to speak to you, I believe, a little bit about sort of Alzheimer's versus dementia, the difference, and then give you a much more in-depth overview of the services of the Alzheimer's Association. Nicole, turning it over to you.
Jim. So yes, I'm here to give everyone just a really brief overview of Alzheimer's versus dementia and some of those warning signs, and hopefully highlight some of the services that may be helpful to the people that you are working with. Next slide. That's the right slide. Thanks. So the most common question I think I've gotten in my many years of working at the association has been, what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Dementia is a general term for decline in mental ability, severe enough to interfere with day-to-day life. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia. It accounts for 60 to 80% of all dementia cases. And so while Alzheimer's is a specific disease, dementia is not. I often refer to dementia as an umbrella term, and there are a lot of different causes. Some of those other causes, in addition to Alzheimer's, are Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, and frontotemporal degeneration. As Jim mentioned, the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is a world without Alzheimer's disease and all other dementia, and we provide services and fund research for every kind of dementia. Next slide, please. So as I just said, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. It affects memory, thinking, behavior, and it's severe enough that it interferes with your regular tasks. Age is the greatest risk factor for Alzheimer's disease, but it is not a normal part of aging. Other risk factors include family history, genetics, and having a head injury in the past. Research has also indicated that there's a connection between cardiovascular health and the development of Alzheimer's disease, and also that a healthy lifestyle, as one ages, including a good diet, regular exercise, and social engagement, reduces the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is progressive, and at this point, the Alzheimer's Association is working very hard to fund research, but we do not have a cure yet. The average lifespan for someone who is diagnosed with Alzheimer's is 4 to 8 years, but some people do live longer than 20 years with Alzheimer's disease. Next slide, please. Alzheimer's disease is caused by microscopic changes to nerve cells or neurons in the brain. A lot of people have heard of these plaques and tangles. They're basically plaques that are made of one protein called amyloid and tangles of a different one called tau that interfere with the functioning of those nerve cells and actually cause those nerve cells to die. In Alzheimer's disease, those changes tend to happen first in the area of the brain that's responsible for recall or your immediate memory, but gradually the damage starts to spread to other parts of the brain that are responsible for other functions, like communication, speech, and your regular type activities. The damage is so severe that the brain actually shrinks in size over time. Next slide, please. Memory loss is the most well-known sign of Alzheimer's disease and often the first noticed, but there are other warning signs that are important to know about, including challenges in planning and solving problems, difficulty with routine tasks. One of those tasks often that comes to mind for families is balancing a checkbook, if that's something someone was always good at. Misplacing things to the point of really interfering with your ability to get things done. Trouble with understanding visual images or spatial relationships. And this symptom can be particularly dangerous when you're considering the task of driving or walking around and getting lost. New problems with speaking and writing, and seeing sometimes changes in mood and personality. It's important if you're noticing these signs in someone you love or concerned about them in yourself that you talk to a primary care physician. Sometimes these signs are due to treatable conditions, and even if it is a progressive dementia such as Alzheimer's disease, early detection does lead to better treatment and the ability to plan ahead. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to ask that we play our recent Alzheimer's Association Facts and Figures video, which highlights the seriousness of Alzheimer's disease in the US and important racial and ethnic disparities. Thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please? For these reasons that were in this really important video, the resources and support of the Alzheimer's Association are more important than ever. In order to ensure the safety of our constituents, volunteers, and staff during the COVID-19 pandemic, all of our services and resources are available by telephone and online and live video conferencing. Our constituents receive individualized information and support to meet their unique needs. We know that Alzheimer's disease and all other dementia affect every family differently. And the people that we serve include people living with Alzheimer's disease, families, the general public, and professionals who work in the field. Support and information is available 24/7 in English and Spanish from experts. And all of these programs and services I'm going to talk about are offered to families at no charge. Next slide, please. The gateway to all of our services is the 24/7 helpline. It provides immediate support and consultation for families at any hour of the day. You can contact the helpline day or night to find out about our programs and register. And since the helpline is staffed by trained specialists and master's level clinicians, you can also talk to someone to learn about the symptoms of Alzheimer's and other dementia, get decision-making support, caregiving tips, and education on the issues that families face every single day. Receive referrals to local resources, and find emotional support. Next slide, please. Other services of the Alzheimer's Association Massachusetts New Hampshire chapter include education programs for the general public, including programs on the warning signs of Alzheimer's disease and healthy lifestyle. We also have programs for people living with Alzheimer's and caregivers on topics related to coping strategies, communication challenges, meeting difficult behaviors, and making difficult decisions. We offer hundreds of support groups right now virtually, and even when we're in person, we have over 80 support groups in Massachusetts and New Hampshire that are offered by trained volunteer facilitators for both caregivers and people living with Alzheimer's disease. We have small early stage social engagement programs for people with early memory loss, as well as if you haven't checked it out yet, we have a very comprehensive website and can provide materials on any topic related to Alzheimer's. I'd also just like to briefly highlight two other services that are available online. One is Trial Match, and that gives families the ability to match up with a clinical trial that meets their needs locally, but they also qualify for, as well as an online social networking system called Alz Connected. We hope that you will utilize the services of the Alzheimer's Association and share those services with the people that you work with. In particular, really the main thing to take away from this is really to not hesitate to share the 24/7 helpline in the website. And that's really the gateway, and people can find out about any kind of service that they can need by those ways.
Thank you, Nicole. I'd now like to introduce Erin DiCarlo and Lauren Watts from Dovetail Real Estate Group, who have a great presentation about supporting sellers with dementia.
Thanks, Melissa. My name's Erin DiCarlo. I am the founder here at Dovetail Companies, and we are beyond grateful to be with all of you today. My partnership with the Alzheimer's Association started back in 2006 when I started working in the senior living industry after my grandfather was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and moved into an assisted living memory care community. And I became a hospice volunteer. And then through the years supported local walks. So I'm thrilled to be here in a professional hat today, talking with our fellow real estate peers. Next slide, please. I'm here today with, I refer to Lauren as my soul sister. We are on a mission here at Dovetail to help redefine and reshape the way we support older adults in transition from home to community. We are realtors, senior real estate specialists, seller representative specialists, certified senior advisors, and certified dementia practitioners. So today we'll share a little bit about our story and tips and tricks on how to support older adults with varying cognitive impairment, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and their families. Next slide, please. Thank you, Erin. So we are going to start by comparing the realities of the real estate market today and the reality of a seller with dementia. For most of us on this call, I think we know and understand that we are in an amazing real estate market, and I want to celebrate that. But oftentimes it does not align very well with the reality of what our sellers with dementia are kind of going through. The good news for us on this call today is that we are probably in one of the best markets ever. We are seeing an all-time low of mortgage rates for buyers. Inventory remains a little bit low. We'd like to see that higher. But the truth is that buyers are ready. We are seeing multiple showings in one day, 15 to 25 showings in a day. I actually got off of a call with one of our agents yesterday, and there were 95 showings in one weekend. I don't know how that's virtually possible, but it is happening every single day in the real estate market. This all really leads to not only multiple showings, but multiple offers being presented to buyers. Buyers today are waiving home inspections, mortgage contingencies. They are paying with cash. It is just a crazy, very competitive market, which unfortunately, stepping into the world of a seller with dementia, the real estate market is far from ideal. Given what we know about the buyer demand and what we just talked about here, and the desire to see a property as soon as possible with 15 to 25 showings a day is just really not an environment that is virtually possible for an older adult, especially with cognitive impairment, to physically, emotionally, or mentally comprehend. And add on top of that, everything that we're going through from a process and procedure with COVID to ensure their safety and, make sure that we're having showings come in at time schedules. That means that we're asking them to come out of their house for a very lengthy amount of time. And that's really not possible. We're going to be talking a little bit about really what it means to live through a listing of a home, but what it means to live through a listing of a home with someone that has dementia, if that is the case, or support supporting somebody with dementia. Certainly, we talk a lot about disorientation due to staging and decluttering, sundowning, really being cognizant and aware of what times of day is good for them, and the inability to be show ready in a moment's notice. If we can change the slide. Thank you. Living through a listing really means more to the older adult than the typical agent might usually experience with their client. What we're talking about here is nothing that's new to any of you that are joining us today. This just really highlights on the left-hand side a few things that as an agent, we have to be aware of and cognizant of to make sure that a home is show ready for buyers and that we're bringing as many buyers to the table as possible for our sellers. So as a seller with dementia, we are asking them to start to declutter and prepare their home to list and sell. This may mean organizing, packing, donating, selling, putting items into storage, painting or repairing their home, cleaning, staging. If you can even imagine what this causes from a disruption standpoint for somebody with dementia, it is absolutely heightened from what it is from a normal or average seller. Listing the home, we go into this category of taking pictures, videos. It's compromise safety, managing this process, having multiple professionals coming into the home to, again, prepare that home, taking pictures, making sure it's clean. Again, unpredictable showings at all times of the day. And then certainly we have nosy neighbors as well. Imagine inviting all of that into your home when really it's hard for you to get through your day-to-day. And then we go into post-accepted offer. In the real estate world, everything, if it's all lined up properly, it is going very, very quickly. And a home sale can really turn around and close within 30 to 45 days in most cases. This is a heightened process for most sellers with dementia, and it's a whirlwind of a process for them. We talk a lot about the professionals that come in, but this is added on the post-accepted offer side as well, from gas and oil readings, inspections. And then we really look at the emotions. Erin's going to talk a little bit about this here in a minute, but having to deal with the multiple professionals, timelines, and emotions that come with this. This is likely their home that they've lived in for 40 or 50 plus years that have a great deal of emotional attachment and sentimental value attached to that. Versus, we'll talk about this a little bit too. Oh. Can everybody hear me right now? Okay, sorry about that. Seems like we're having a speaker issue. Versus living in your new home and having someone transfer you to your new space so that you don't have to live through this. And we'll talk a little bit about this as well, but how do we effectively work with our seller with dementia and identify what it is that they need, what is going to be the best step and process for them, so that logistically we can be in this real estate world without having them to virtually live through this listing and do everything there. If we could advance to the next slide. We talk a lot about in our world transfer trauma. This may be a term that some of you have heard and some of you may have not heard before. We often talk about it with our clients. There are no two people that are alike when it comes to transfer trauma, but the essential idea here is that this really describes the stress that a person with dementia may experience when changing their environments. So when we think about asking them to leave their longtime home, pack up all of their belongings, put it into storage, and then get ready for us to come in at all hours of the day, this can really cause a lot of stress on that individual. Second to that, a person with dementia can also experience this stress once they've gotten settled in their new space. It could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, a year. We really have no idea how long that's going to take. And that actually rolls into the process that we're going through during the listing process as well. Sometimes we can experience great days. Sometimes we can experience really difficult days. We're going to talk a little bit about how we get into that. Thank you. Sorry, we're moving the computer to hopefully help with audio. We can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so This is when dealing with older adults with cognitive impairment and supporting their families. I know we all know this on this call, but we're going to ask that you do a little bit deeper of a dive if you are working or supporting a client with dementia or an Alzheimer's diagnosis. Oftentimes, as real estate agents, we may focus on the bricks and mortar of the home, focusing our conversation with the family about, how old are the systems and tell me about window replacement. We're going to ask that you shift a little bit if you're noticing or have heard from the client that there may be a new diagnosis. We need to look at the whole person. The house is actually kind of the last piece of this process. We need to understand that there are many things going on in this person's situation. There's always typically some level or form of family dynamics. Is the older adult on board with this decision to leave the home and list and sell it? Is there an adult child kind of moving this process forward? Really slow down and gain a better understanding of the family dynamics with this situation. Is there a new diagnosis? Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about the resources and support available that you can bring in if you're hearing any of these buzzwords. Physical decline. Oftentimes, you may notice that, the house is maybe a little unkept, or they tell you that they had a slip and a fall. You really want to be paying attention to all areas of your prospective seller's situation. Again, cognitive changes. Has there been a loss of a spouse or a loved one? Oftentimes, if we don't have a comfort level supporting older adults, these conversations may not flow naturally for you, but it's important to start to open those doors. If there is an emotion, there is, I'm just going to state it, there is a deep emotional attachment for older adult clients that have lived in their homes for a long time. You have to take some time to not just establish rapport, but allow your seller to talk with you and work through some of this deep-rooted stuff, because these are the obstacles to moving forward with listing and selling their home. If we skirt over all of these topics, you're going to have a hard time really moving this process forward. So really seeing and hearing the stories and the emotions that are woven into the walls of that home. Is there any current financial stress? We talked a little bit, I saw on the slide, about the financial burden of caring for and supporting Alzheimer's and dementia patients, short and long term. That can be a major reason that the family's thinking about listing and selling the home to afford the care of their loved one long term. Next slide, please. So we're not asking everyone on this call to become elder care experts. That's not what we're asking you to do at all. What we'd like to question you to do is look at your current professional alignment. Who do you have in your what we call professional tribe? Who are your go-to professionals that you can pull in should you notice any areas of need? We have a worksheet that we can get to if you're interested after the call, but it's really taking a look at your current alignment. And this isn't just your typical like mortgage lenders, closing attorneys. If you are looking to support clients with dementia and Alzheimer's, do you have a good, one, the Alzheimer's Association support line? Do you have a good handful of geriatric care managers, elder law attorneys, financial planners that specialize in this space, care options counselors? Identify where some of your gaps are. If you only have, let's say, one elder law attorney. Lauren and I talk a lot about it's important that obviously every client is unique, has a different personality, a different situation, and you need to have the right professionals to bring in to meet their specific needs. And it's never a one size fits all. And then where you notice your gaps are, where you may need additional resources, reach out. We're all here to support and connect you with additional professionals that may be able to help support your clients. We talk about seek and keep. Where can you, like brings more like. So if you have one or two stellar professionals that you work with, ask them for additional connections. You don't need to be an expert in this space, but you do have an ethical responsibility to your mature seller to make sure that you're in alignment with the right experts and the right professionals to support them with their various needs that you may identify. Next slide, please. So when do you know to bring in the professionals? Some really basic kind of red flags. Are you noticing excessive clutter? Here at Dovetail Companies, we have an actual hoarding division. Clutter or, kind of a messy home is very different than hoarding. There's actually 5 levels of hoarding, but that is one insight into disorganization. If somebody's having a hard time kind of staying organized or having their things in order, that can be a red flag. Outdated or spoiled food in the refrigerator or cabinets. That's just a great habit of getting into when supporting your mature sellers, is making sure just on a basic needs, do they have their basic needs met as far as fresh food? Hydration is a really big component. Sometimes that's as easy as when you're meeting with your client to say, oh, let's sit and have a glass of water together while we meet, helping encourage their hydration while you're meeting. Unkept appearance or body odor. As we age, we typically still like to keep our appearance to the best of our ability, even if physically or cognitively we have some challenges. So it's not normal for an older adult to be disheveled or have body odor. That means that they have a need that is being unmet. And that's an important red flag to notice. Oftentimes with various dementias and Alzheimer's disease, clothing or items may be put on incorrectly. You meeting with someone in the middle of August, their home is really warm and they're wearing a wool sweater. That would be a red flag. Unfamiliarity. This is the biggest hot button for Lauren and I in the real estate space. Please do not stage a home around a person with cognitive impairment. This person may be having challenges living in the home that they've lived in for many years with their things in very specific places to help prompt them. And when we move a coffee maker or we take away a familiar, chair or Afghan, it can be extremely unsettling for that older adult. This goes back to our point. We try to, as often as possible, help the older adult transition first, and then prepare the home for sale so that the home is vacant and can be, if you'd like to stage or prepare it. But living through staging, the level of cognitive impairment obviously plays a big part here, but they may be unfamiliar already in their familiar home due to the changes in their cognition. So if we're shifting things around, it can be a little bit of a whirlwind. Same clothing at meetings. You've met with this person a few times and you notice they're still in the same clothes. Obviously, repetition, confusion, disorientation. Major mood swings can also be a sign. Now, this is difficult, obviously, with COVID. We're in the self-isolation. Most people are self-isolated. I think many of us talk about the silver linings of this past year. One of the biggest that I see is that we have all, regardless of our age or circumstances, experienced what it feels like to be socially isolated. And my hope is that there is now a global empathy which helps us all understand what it feels like to be socially isolated, and to have an understanding for your older adult clients with cognitive impairment that this can be detrimental, the self-isolation and the decline. And we're seeing most of our clients are choosing to list and sell their home because they don't want to live in isolation anymore. And they're making a choice to move to a supportive living community so that they can shift away from that. Difficulty with word finding. That's called aphasia. That's something that you may notice too if someone's really stumbling for a word or getting frustrated when talking with you. That's another red flag for you to stop and say, this may be time for me to bring in the best professionals to support this client. I think when supporting mature sellers, this can be, and I'd love to open up for discussion around this topic too, if this is something that is not, that you're not fully comfortable with, that you haven't spent a lot of time supporting older adults, this is where it's great to peer up, to really connect yourself with some experts in this space, to lean on them. You don't have to try and take on too much. I think that's the interesting part. I think we could all agree on this call about real estate is that most agents wear so many hats, from, move managers to legal advice to all these different hats, but it's a very slippery slope when dealing with clients that may have a clinical need. And it's important that we remain in our role of experts in real estate and align ourselves with experts in the elder care space to provide the right support. Because even if it slows down the process a little bit for you to get the listing and put the home on the market, it's going to go much smoother ultimately for you, for all parties, for the older adult, for their family, for you as the agent. There's going to be much more successful outcomes when the process is slowed down, the correct professionals are brought in, and you do what's best for that client. We've seen it time and time again. It just makes more sense. So you don't need to be the expert, but it's important to align yourself with the experts so that your clients have the support they need for success. And then
Autumn, you can advance that slide. Thank you. So feel free, like Erin mentioned, you don't have to go at this alone. If you are looking for some good folks to network with, to bring onto your team, feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have any questions. We live and breathe this every single day and are happy to help. As Erin mentioned, really change the way and shift the way that we are supporting folks with Alzheimer's and dementia. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Erin and Lauren. That was great information, really helpful. And wanted to pause right now to see if there are any questions for any of our speakers. If you have any questions, feel free to answer, put them in the chat and we can certainly answer them.
Autumn, while we have a moment, is it okay if I mention our Pay It Forward program? Yeah,
yes,
Melissa said yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is just an idea that I came up with. I've always felt in alignment with the Alzheimer's Association, their mission, value, and advocacy. As I've supported many of my, unfortunately, both my grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's disease and my grandmother on my mother's side this past August. So this is a cause that's very near and dear to me. And as a small business owner, I wanted to be able to make an impact in my charitable contributions to the Alzheimer's Association. And we have a program here at Dovetail Companies that if you refer a client to us that uses our full suite of services, we pay a referral for, it's for all professionals, family members, past clients. But if the individual is not able or would rather not accept the referral program, we make a contribution in their name directly to the Alzheimer's Association. So it's been a great opportunity for us to give back, but also for the professionals that we work with, for them to be able to contribute to the association as well. So if you're looking for an opportunity to be philanthropic with your business and align with a great cause, we'd be happy to connect with you offline, and maybe you could replicate something similar with your business. It's been really great.
That's great. Thank you so much. Wanted to talk a little bit about that you heard a little bit.
Sorry, there's a question in the chat.
Oh,
Debbie Caniff.
Oh, yes, I just saw it. If there is no family in the area, how do you successfully help an Alzheimer's patient move? What are legal pitfalls?
Great question, Debbie. So first and foremost, when you're having your initial meeting or consultation with this person, one of the first questions we always ask is, what professionals are you currently working with? Legal and financial are always our first two professionals that we're looping into the conversation. Obviously, selling the home is a major transition, but also transaction. More than a transition, it's a major legal and financial transaction. If the client does not already have an estate planning attorney or a financial advisor that specializes in retirement planning, those are the first two professionals we're bringing in to ensure that they have representation that's best for them if there's no family. Once those professionals are brought in, or simultaneously, we're identifying where is this client going? If they have cognitive impairment, have they made an informed decision about the housing option that's best for them? We didn't get into that in this presentation, but that's a big piece of this, where we have a big ethical responsibility to ensure our sellers with cognitive impairment are making an informed decision on where they're going next. I'm actually going to take 30 seconds on this. If you are unfamiliar with the non-MLS housing options for older adults, and you are getting into this space, this is really important to get a good understanding. If there has already been a cognitive change and decline in your client, a typical home purchase or condominium purchase with no support in place may not be the best next step. So it's important to take a minute, step back, and bring in the right professionals to help support that client with making an informed decision on the housing options that could best meet their needs. If there's no adult child or additional support person, we're probably bringing in a care manager. This is or a care options counselor. Lauren and I actually were both senior living care options counselors before starting this company. So supporting clients with identifying where they're going to go, bringing in the right professionals to support them, and then moving forward with the listing and selling of the home. But very important question. You cannot just kind of push this process forward. You need to make sure that there's legal and financial representatives that are doing what's best to support your client. I'm just looking at another question.
And just as a resource too, our Alzheimer's Association offers free care consultations. So this is a great way to have a conversation. I know if there's other, if there's not maybe family around, but if you as a agent are noticing this and have questions about it, this is a great way to call our helpline and then have a care consultation to help guide you as well.
Great. Do you want me to read Lauren's question? Melissa, you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
One other question is if you had a client that you could be experiencing some of the symptoms discussed around Alzheimer's and dementia, but they have not shared information about a diagnosis, how do you suggest proceeding?
This is a great question, Lauren. As Jim mentioned, or may have been in the video, there is a huge stigma in our country. It's really an anti-aging society that we live in. We don't embrace aging here in America. So all things aging, especially cognitive impairment, is really a scary topic that a lot of people just put their blinders on and don't discuss. If we can create a very safe and warm, trusting environment with our clients in that initial meeting, we're not asking you to kind of call the kettle black right in that initial meeting, but if you can create a safe space and have open-ended questions like, tell me what you'd like to see for yourself for the future. Tell me some things that we talk about. We have a whole kind of process for this, but tell me about some things in your life that are working really well for you currently. And then ease into what are some things that are not working so well for you. So these open-ended questions allow them to start to tell you a little bit more about their situation and story. And maybe, and usually something like, you know, it's just getting a little bit harder for me to, oh, am I breaking up? I'll try that again. Everyone thumbs up? Okay, technology. Just open-ended questions in a trusting, warm environment. And maybe they open up and say, you know, and a lot of time with couples, they may say, my wife's just been more forgetful lately than she's been. We always ask questions about who's your primary care physician. You know, when you're asking open-ended questions about the professionals already involved in someone's life, it doesn't feel like you're, you know, fire rapid personal questions. It just kind of organically opens up the conversation.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things to deal with around when you're kind of concerned that someone, you know, might be having Alzheimer's or dementia, but they're not mentioning it. Sometimes I think if you can have the opportunity to talk to the family without the person who you're worried about present, to you know, feel around for what might really be going on. I think sometimes they're so used to bringing in the person who's going to be, whose house they're selling, that they don't even think to talk to you on their own. And that might be telling. And maybe at that point too, even if they're just saying, you know, no, nothing's been diagnosed, but we're really worried, you know, that would be a really good reason to, you know, tell them to call the 24/7 helpline and, you know, hear more about what some of those options are to explore those concerns.
And to your point, Nicole, also to say to families, adult children may say, my mom has dementia. And when we say, well, that's not really a diagnosis, it's a symptom. Well, the primary care physician isn't too worried. This is a great time for you to call the association and get some resources for additional follow-up for an accurate clinical diagnosis. Because when it comes to planning on what's next for them, an Alzheimer's diagnosis is very different than like a urinary tract infection, right? That's going to really shift the planning and advice that's given. So yes, getting everyone in touch with the association early on, even if a primary care physician said, oh, don't worry about it, it's just dementia, it's really important to help connect them with the right resources.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I think that might be helpful in the line of work of real estate and thinking about this, I know like all of these other professionals that Lauren and Erin are talking about are really helpful and are what's needed, but sometimes it can be difficult to convince a family that anything more is needed. And I do think that sometimes a referral to the 24/7 helpline or a care consultation to hear from someone who is unbiased to give them an idea around what's going to be necessary to make this move safely happen can make a difference.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Great questions and great information, very helpful information. So you heard earlier about the programs and services that the Alzheimer's Association offers to families and individuals living with Alzheimer's and all other dementia. We mentioned that they are available at no cost, and we're able to offer those services as well as educational programs like this one here today because of all of our fundraising initiatives and donations from our very generous supporters. One of our biggest fundraising initiatives is the Walk to End Alzheimer's. The walk is the largest public awareness and fundraising event to raise funds for Alzheimer's care, support, and research. And I'm just going to talk very briefly about the walk and just give you a little bit of background information about the walks. The walks take place in every community across the country. And in our area, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine, they're held in September and October. So they're held in the fall. The walk is an event that anyone can get involved with and anyone can participate. There's no registration fee and there's no fundraising requirement, but we do encourage fundraising, appreciate fundraising as it helps to support the mission of the Alzheimer's Association. It's easy to get involved and we provide you with tools, resources, and support to help you be successful in your efforts. We are moving forward with plans to host the Walk to End Alzheimer's in person this fall, and we hope that all of you will join us. We will have information. I know I saw some information in the chat, but we'll also have information at the end of this event on how you can get involved and join us. So we'll share that information with you, and we hope that you will consider getting involved. And now I want to talk a little bit about one of our great supporters in the industry has been Jack Conway and Company, who has been a generous supporter and participant of the Walk to End Alzheimer's. So I'd now like to introduce Susan Babb, Director of Relocation and Corporate Services at Jack Conway and Company.
Thank you, Melissa. Just wow, Lauren and Erin, thank you for providing that information. That was really great. And as a real estate professional, obviously we can all take away the information that you provided as we deal with our senior clients. My name is Susan Babb. I'm the Director of Relocation and Corporate Services at Jack Conway and Company, and I'm thrilled to be here this morning representing Conway. I personally am dedicated to contribute to the Alzheimer's Association as a member of the 2021 South Shore Walk at To End Alzheimer's Committee and the Sponsorship Committee. I'm also captain of our Conway Cares team committed to this year's South Shore Walk being held in September. Jack Conway has been a proud supporter of the Alzheimer's Association for the past 12 years, and we believe in the work the association is doing to provide resources and support to those suffering with Alzheimer's and also their caregivers to fund research to ultimately find a cure. We will continue to support the association in its efforts as part of our overall commitment to best serve our communities and the people who call it home. Joining me today are some of our Conway agents that have the Conway Senior Specialist designation. These agents are specifically trained to meet the unique needs of homeowners 55 plus. And this program connects clients with one of our 150 senior specialists throughout Conway's country's 29 offices in Massachusetts. As a real estate professional, it's important to know the 10 warning signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's that Nicole shared with us earlier. And as agents that serve our senior community, we need to take notice of these signs and, take action. And you can find more information on the alz.org website. Jack Conway supports the Alzheimer's Association in participating in the 2021 Walk to End Alzheimer's. We challenge all of you to do the same and get involved with your local walk. There's many ways you can help. Become a team captain. You can start a team by registering for your local walk and participate on walk day. Plans are underway, as you heard, that we are trying to make this year's event a live walk. The walk brings a new level of Alzheimer's awareness to your community and help raise funds to fuel our mission. You can also sponsor the walk. There's a wide range of sponsorship levels and benefits that provide some great visibility opportunities to all walk participants. Jack Conway is committed to sponsor this year, and I ask the same from all of you. Volunteer and be part of your walk planning committee. Your local walk is a crucial part of raising funds, and I encourage all of you to get involved. So how can you get involved today? I think in the chat, you'll see a link to an online form, and we're asking everyone to complete it. I encourage everyone to get involved and appreciate any time you have to support this wonderful organization, Alzheimer's Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And we are posting the link to find your local walk in the chat, as well as that Google form that you can all complete to get more information about the walk and how to get more involved. I want to say thank you again to all of our speakers, and thank you to everyone who joined us at today's event. As Susan mentioned, we hope that you will get involved and support the Alzheimer's Association. Also, as Susan mentioned, there's many ways that you can get involved. You can participate in the walk as a team and gather other coworkers, friends, and family to participate and join the team. You can sponsor the walk with some great visibility opportunities, and you can also volunteer on one of our volunteer committees. So we ask that you just complete the online form that's in the chat, and we'll follow up with you on next steps. So now we're going to move to the networking portion of the event. We have set up breakout rooms based on your zip codes when you registered. So in a minute, you will be directed to a breakout room where you will have the opportunity to network with others from your region. So in that networking opportunity, you'll connect. We will not be coming back to this main session as a large group after the networking portion. So once your group has finished networking, you can log off from your networking breakout session once your group is finished with the networking portion. We'll also be sending out the slides and additional information from today's event. So if you want to share these slides with anyone or share information with others, we will be sending that out after the event. So thank you again for joining us. Enjoy your networking, and we hope you'll join us again for the walks in the fall.